Hi, I'm Dave Isaacs, and welcome to week 12, the last week of the Core Concept series. Now, I hope you've been enjoying these and that you've been finding the insights to be helpful. I think this is all really important stuff. And this week's is so important because this is how you really start putting the pieces together. Build a repertoire and perform it consistently. Get to know that music as well as you possibly can. One of the traps that a lot of people fall into is they start working on something and they get it to maybe about 75-80%, and it starts to get frustrating to go forward, and maybe you put some time into really examining the song and seeing if there are particular things you can work on. If you're taking lessons, then your teacher is likely, or hopefully, guiding you through how to attack the trouble spots. Hopefully you know how to do that already, and we've talked about that in previous videos. But most people, unless they have a reason to polish it up and get that last 20%, will eventually just let it go. And really, I don't think anyone is immune from that. There are definitely things that I dabble with that I never get to full performance readiness because I don't really have a reason to. This goes back to things that we've talked about in previous videos in terms of playing with other people, in terms of getting in front of people. You really need to have an audience listening to you to really get a sense of the flow of your performance. It's just never quite going to be the same. Now, your audience could be a microphone. It could be a camera. It doesn't have to be a room full of people. But the idea is that you're hearing your own performance through the filter of knowing that there are other ears taking it in. And I think there's something about that that's really important. I know as a songwriter, I talk about this with writers all the time, I know a song is really right when I can get up in front of somebody and sing it and feel good about it all the way through. If something in the song isn't quite right, generally I'll know it when I'm performing it because I will feel it. Knowing that people are listening really puts a spotlight on any weaknesses, any shortcomings. And the only way to get around that is to continue to do it in front of people. I think there's just a limit to how far you can take something practicing on your own. And so recording yourself is so important. Recording video, recording audio, because you get used to that spotlight of knowing that what you did is also being heard by someone or something else. Now here's another aspect. When we're learning how to play, we want to keep learning new things. We always want to keep learning new things, and that's great, and that's important, it's stimulating, it's what keeps you motivated, it keeps things fresh. But at the same time, it can become overwhelming. You can reach a point where you've got such a volume of material that you don't really have anything that is 100% dialed in. And it's really crucial that you have something, even if it's one thing. If it is one song that if somebody asks you, hey, can you play something for me, that you know you can go to that. You should absolutely have that. Ideally, you should have a whole set of those. And of course, how much material you have depends on who you are, where you are in your journey with this, and what your needs are, what you do. If you're a songwriter, and let's say you want to get out and perform songwriters' nights or something like that, then 3 songs is enough to get you started. 6 songs is even better because then you have choices if you have a 3-song set. Ultimately, for a performing singer-songwriter, I think you ought to have a solid hour's worth of material. You want that whole hour to be killer. Ultimately, you want 3 hours to be ultimately killer. But point being, there's only so much you can manage at once, and the way you build up to having 3 hours of killer material is to start by refining 3 songs until they're as good as they can possibly be. This will also give you a stronger sense of your own strengths and weaknesses, to spotlight the things that you need to work on. Because trust me, when there's a camera going, or a microphone live, or an audience, anytime something isn't quite what you wanted it to be, you will feel it, you will notice it, you will be acutely aware of it. In fact, one of the other really crucial lessons you get from this is you start to recognize that the average audience doesn't notice most of your flubs. Number one, often they're more subtle than you might think, and so they just don't come across past the lip of the stage. Number two, especially if you're improvising or if somebody doesn't know the song, then they don't know what the right thing was. And so if you hit the wrong thing, and as long as it wasn't obviously wrong, they just won't notice the difference. They didn't know what you intended to do. You might feel like something completely fell apart when it actually hung together just fine. And here's the other thing that's so crucial to this. The only way that you develop the ability to push through and be able to finish the song, regardless of any mistakes, any bobbles you might make, is to get in front of people, get in front of that camera, get in front of that microphone, and perform it. This is also going back to what I've spoken about in previous videos about flow practice, that you have to be able to begin at the beginning and get to the end, and whatever happens in between, it doesn't stop your momentum, it doesn't break your concentration, and ultimately, it doesn't distract or stop the flow of the performance from a listener's perspective. The bottom line is this: whatever your goals are, whether that includes recording or performing for people or not, you do want to be able to play something top to bottom, cleanly, accurately, with passion, in a way that makes you feel good about it. And I really think the only way you're going to get that with a degree of confidence is to have a set of material that you've gotten to know so well that you can get up in front of an audience, even despite any jitters you might have, and just give the performance. This is what professional performers learn how to do. And if you think about it, it's really just another way of honing one of the essential skills for any good musician, which is the ability to keep track of multiple things at once. We know we're keeping track of multiple musical things. Let's say you're playing and singing. Let's say you're playing with a group and you have to be aware of what the other parts are doing. Another one of those things is you're in a room, there's an audience, there's things going on around you. You need to be able to be aware of all that without being distracted from your performance. There's 1,000 things that can happen in a live performance setting, and no matter what it is, you really do need to be able to keep going and keep your concentration. And so that ability to stay in a performance, even if your mind is momentarily distracted by this or that, is another really crucial skill, and it's only going to come from getting on that stage, getting in front of people. When you do start to feel the feedback of an audience and the energy that comes from a room full of people listening to you, you can hear a room full of people listening. It's really a fascinating thing, and it's pretty amazing when you know that you've really got the attention of everybody in that room. So I can't stress enough how important this is for your development in terms of being able to play with the kind of confidence you want. In the end, all 12 of these core concepts are just about that, about becoming a confident and comfortable player. I really hope you found these helpful. I'm Dave Isaacs. Thanks for watching.